the classic Zippo lighter. Popularized in World War II, these lighters became an American icon worldwide, and for decades, their wicks were made out of asbestos. Let's take a look. Welcome to Asbestos Artifacts, where we take a look at some old asbestos products and dig a little bit into the story behind them. I'm asbestos attorney Justinian C, and today's asbestos artifact is a Zippo wick made of asbestos. The first Zippos were sold in 1933. A guy by the name of George Grant Blaisdell was at a country club in Pennsylvania and saw someone lighting a cigarette with a cumbersome Austrian lighter. Blaisdell noted that the lighter had a chimney design which worked well to stay lit, even in the wind, but it required two hands to operate. So he developed the flip-top design and he kept the chimney lighter inside. Here you can see how a Zippo works. There's a spring-loaded cam, that's the hinge, and it gives the classic Zippo click. There's wadding that soaks up and contains the fuel, and it's on top of a felt pad. A wick runs through the wadding and up to the top. For some period of time, the wicks were made of asbestos. Then there's a spring in the tube that connects to the fuel, and the spring will hold the flint in place as the striker wheel spins. The real key to the design is this chimney, which has holes to let air in, but helps reduce stronger winds from snuffing the flame out. At first, the fuel wadding was made of cotton. In the 1940s, they started using rayon. Rayon's a fiber made from cellulose, usually wood pulp. Zippo used asbestos for the wicks until sometime in the 1980s, just like the ancient Greeks and Romans did. During World War II, Zippo stopped manufacturing consumer lighters and instead made Zippo lighters for the war. Hundreds of thousands of GIs carried Zippo lighters with them, contributing greatly to their prominence and popularity even after the war. Zippos have become an American icon and stayed that way at least until cigarette smoking began to fall off. As you can see, this wick retailed for 5 cents. It's printed right on the package. Just to put it in perspective, in the 1930s, a Zippo sold for $1.95. That would be about $40 today, so it wasn't a small investment to purchase one of these. But as we see, the replacement wick was about 5 cents, which would be about $1. So how dangerous is the asbestos wick? Well, let's first talk for a second about what asbestos is and why it's dangerous to begin with. Asbestos is an industrial name for several types of rock that can break down into fibers. The fibers can be woven into thread, like this wick. The other thing about asbestos is that it's highly resistant to heat and flame, so any threads or fabrics made from asbestos resist getting burned up by the flame. In fact, among the earliest known uses of asbestos in history are as wicks, used by the ancient Greeks, which used them for lamps in their temples for goddesses Vesta and Athena. The lamps were meant to be lit at all times, and asbestos wicks do not burn away like other materials. We cover a lot of that ancient asbestos history in our Asbestos 101 series, and in some of our other history videos. They're all available on our YouTube channel. The problem is that these asbestos fibers are durable and virtually indestructible. They're also tiny, often microscopic, so you can't always see that they're in the air. And to make it even worse, they have no taste or smell, so you don't know that you're breathing them. Asbestos fibers get lodged in your lungs and respiratory system, and then they often lay low, slowly damaging your body until you discover decades later that they've caused an asbestos-related illness, like asbestosis, pleural plaques, or even cancers like mesothelioma and lung cancer. So you really don't want to handle anything with asbestos, especially when it's fibrous like this wick and easily able to fragment and get airborne. Okay, back to Zippo. So Zippo stopped manufacturing lighters with asbestos wicks in the 80s, but these lighters were designed to take a beating and many are still around today, so you'll see them at swap meets, surplus stores, and estate sales. In fact, to this day, every Zippo lighter is guaranteed for life. Zippo's inventor, George Blaisdell, had a policy that it works or we fix it for free. And if you mail the company your broken Zippo, they will fix it for you or replace it. Now, the first series from the 1930s are valuable collector's items. And in the 1950s, they started stamping all Zippos with a date. So if you do buy a used one, you can easily figure out how old your lighter is. Now, if your lighter has an asbestos wick, you don't need to freak out, but you also probably don't want to be lighting a cigarette off of it or inhaling anywhere near it. Unless it was made from the late 80s onward, there is a chance that it has asbestos in the wick. In fact, I read that Zippo wicks were intentionally a bit frayed at the top because it makes them easier to light. So smoke them if you got them, but if you have an older Zippo lighter, maybe light them with something else. I'm Justinian C, and this has been Asbestos Artifacts. See you next time.